At first, Zurab, Miriam's partner, noticed something odd but brushed it off. He grew suspicious when he caught her on video calls with Georgie more than once. When he confronted her, Miriam brushed it off, claiming they were just saying hello. Today, we're diving into another chilling real-life story that reminds us just how dark and complex life can be. This time, the story takes us to the Kashuri area of Georgia, to an apartment where a truly heartbreaking event unfolded. The date was December 28, 2017. What happened that day wasn't just tragic, it was deeply complicated, with layers of conspiracy and betrayal. The most heartbreaking part: the victims were a mother and her young child. What's even more shocking is that the perpetrators weren't strangers. They were people from their closest circle. So, what really happened in this tangled web of tragedy? Let's unravel the full story together. Before we jump into today's story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And don't keep this story to yourself. Share it with your friends so more people can hear about it. So, here's the story. Georgie, born in 1980, was a talented designer and tailor of traditional Georgian women's clothing. He was known as a quiet, respectable man who was well-liked by his neighbors and family. On December 4, 2011, Georgie married his girlfriend, Eileen, who was 4 years younger than him. Together, they had 2 daughters, Nina and Tamara, born in 2013 and 2015. Around that time, Georgie started a small clothing manufacturing business in Variani, employing 6 people. After marrying and starting a family, Georgie and Eileen moved into an apartment in Kashuri. This decision was influenced by Georgie's younger brother, Zurab, who lived in the same building. Zurab convinced Georgie that the apartments were spacious, affordable, and conveniently located. Zurab, his wife, and their child lived on the 12th floor, while Georgie and Eileen settled into a unit on the 9th floor. Living in the same building made it easier for the brothers to stay close and support each other. In late 2015, their 18-year-old cousin Miriam came to Kashuri from their village to look for work. She initially stayed with Zurab's family on the 13th floor. Thanks to Zurab's wife, Miriam found a job in sales at a department store. As she adapted to city life, Miriam became more confident, learning to dress up and do her makeup as part of her job. She often stopped by Georgie's apartment to play with his daughters, which seemed harmless at first. But over time, a mutual attraction developed between Georgie and Miriam. What started as casual visits turned into something more serious, and the two began secretly dating. They were careful to meet outside, go on walks, and share romantic dinners, all while keeping their affair hidden. Zurab eventually grew suspicious when he noticed Miriam on video calls with Georgie multiple times. When confronted, Miriam dismissed it, saying they were just chatting. But Zurab wasn't the only one noticing something odd. His wife also felt uneasy. She picked up on subtle signs, like the way Georgie and Miriam interacted, their body language hinting at a deeper connection. Despite their suspicions, neither Zurab nor his wife felt ready to accuse them directly, fearing they might be overthinking. As time went on, Georgie and Miriam's relationship became harder to hide. Things came to a head when Eileen discovered love messages between the two. Confronted with the evidence, Georgie and Miriam admitted to their affair. Heartbroken, Eileen confided in Zurab, who was furious. Together, they decided to evict Miriam from the apartment building in March 2016. Miriam moved into a rented room near her workplace, and for a while, it seemed like life had returned to normal. Eileen believed Georgie had ended the affair and was committed to their marriage. But rumors began circulating among neighbors, claiming Georgie was still spending time with Miriam. Determined to find out the truth, Eileen and Zurab conducted their own investigation. They eventually caught Georgie visiting Miriam's new apartment after work. Eileen was devastated, bursting into tears. Zurab was equally furious, unable to comprehend his brother's actions. Things took a turn for the worse when Georgie asked Eileen for a divorce, confessing that he no longer loved her and wanted to marry Miriam instead. Zurab, enraged by his brother's betrayal, refused to accept Georgie's decision. The situation left the family fractured, And what followed was a tale of heartbreak, anger, and shattered trust. 2 days later, Georgie apologized to both Eileen and Zurab. He expressed deep regret for his actions and promised to change. He swore he wouldn't see Miriam again, pleading with Zurab not to inform their mother back in the village. Georgie was worried about her health, given her old age. Besides, he admitted, pursuing a relationship with Miriam was out of the question since they were cousins on their father's side. Reluctantly, both Zurab and Eileen decided to forgive Georgie for a second time and move on, hoping this would be the end of it. But the peace didn't last long. Just a week later, Georgie secretly asked Eileen for a divorce again. This time, he begged her not to involve Zurab, claiming his feelings for her were gone and couldn't be repaired. Eileen was crushed. She couldn't bear the thought of separating, especially with their young daughters to care for. Georgie promised to pay for their children's education, but that did little to ease her pain. She wasn't ready to face life as a single mother, nor could she imagine how her parents would react to such devastating news. Unable to keep her emotions bottled up, Eileen confided in Zurab the next day, sharing Georgie's renewed push for divorce. Furious, Zurab threatened to expose Georgie's behavior to their mother and the rest of the family, determined to shame him. Panicked, Georgie backtracked, dismissing the divorce request as a joke and insisting he had no intention of going through with it. On December 27, 2017, Georgie reached out to Miriam with a chilling proposition. He told her he planned to kill his wife, Eileen, claiming it was the only way he could marry Miriam and move on with his life. At first, Miriam hesitated, but eventually, she agreed to the plan. On the morning of December 28, 2017, Georgie followed his usual routine. At 7:30 a.m., he dropped off his 5-year-old daughter, Nina, at school and returned home for breakfast. During their meal, he bluntly told Eileen that he was going through with the divorce. Frustrated by his constant back and forth, Eileen broke down, and a heated argument ensued. At 9 a.m., Georgie left the apartment, taking the elevator down to his motorcycle. Surveillance cameras in the building's elevator and lobby captured him leaving for his sewing business in Variani. Meanwhile, Eileen, still distraught, called her mother in the village to vent about her crumbling marriage. Her youngest daughter, 3-year-old Tamara, was asleep in another room. About 30 minutes into the call, the doorbell rang. Eileen hung up and went to answer it, surprised to find Georgie back. Without a word, he barged in and attacked her, striking her repeatedly before dragging her into the kitchen. There, he grabbed a knife and slashed her neck, killing her. As Georgie prepared to leave, Tamara woke up and began crying. Hearing the commotion, she ran into the kitchen, only to see her mother lying lifeless. Panicked, Georgie silenced her cries the same way, ending her life as well. Afterward, he fled the scene and sent an SMS to Miriam. At around 10:15 a.m., a taxi pulled up in front of the apartment building. Out stepped a woman dressed in black, wearing gloves. Avoiding the surveillance cameras, she used the fire escape to climb to the 9th floor. The woman was Miriam. Once inside the apartment, Miriam found Eileen's phone on the dining table. She sent an SMS from Eileen's phone to Georgie, crafting a fake suicide note that read, "I love you, but I can't take it anymore. I want all the sadness to end." After sending the message, Miriam wiped down the area, grabbed a can of oil from the kitchen, and poured it over Eileen and Tamara's bodies. At 11:30 a.m., the lobby's surveillance cameras captured her leaving the building and getting into the waiting taxi. The gruesome plan was now in motion, but the horrifying truth would soon unravel. 15 minutes later, a laundress named Salome, who worked for the neighbors next door, returned from the supermarket and noticed smoke coming from Eileen's unit. Alarmed, she called for her employer, Mr. Mikhail. While Mr. Mikhail called the fire department and police, he sent Salome upstairs to the 12th floor to alert Zurab. Zurab and his wife quickly rushed down to the 9th floor but realized they didn't have a spare key to the apartment. It wasn't until the police arrived around 11:50 a.m. that they broke down the door, discovering the lifeless bodies of Eileen and her 3-year-old daughter, Tamara. Though Georgie had tried to avoid surveillance cameras in the apartment elevator, he overlooked the ones in the lobby. The investigation team, led by Mr. Ravel, reviewed the footage and noted that Georgie was seen leaving the apartment at 9 a.m. for work. However, they also deduced that he re-entered the building through the back door and fire escape around 10 a.m. The timeline revealed that Georgie likely killed his wife and youngest daughter and exited the building through the front lobby, where the camera captured him leaving at 10:20 a.m. Georgie initially denied this, claiming he was at his shop by 10 a.m., but one of his employees testified that Georgie didn't arrive until closer to 11 a.m. The same lobby footage also showed the license plate of a taxi that had dropped off a woman dressed in black. By tracking street surveillance cameras, investigators found footage of the woman removing her clothing near a park, discarding her gloves, and walking toward her residence. The woman was later identified as 22-year-old Miriam. When Miriam was arrested, she confessed to her involvement, which ultimately led to Georgie's arrest as the mastermind behind the crime. Zurab later revealed that Georgie had been romantically involved with Miriam, their cousin, for years. This relationship had caused significant distress for Eileen, who didn't want to lose her husband and was devastated by his repeated requests for a divorce. While Georgie and Miriam tried to create an alibi by sending a fake SMS from Eileen's phone, the police quickly unraveled their plan, forcing them to confess to fabricating the message. For the family, this betrayal was devastating. Miriam, who had come to Kashuri with dreams of building a better life, had instead destroyed her cousin's family. Known as a shy and kind girl in her village, her actions shocked everyone. After the funeral of Eileen and Tamara, custody of 5-year-old Nina was awarded to Zurab and his wife. The court ruled that Georgie, as the biological father, was not allowed to see Nina until she turned 19. Public outrage grew, especially toward Miriam, who was not only viewed as a homewrecker but also as an accomplice to the horrific crime against her own family. Whenever Georgie and Miriam appeared in court, they were met with shouts and even thrown objects from angry onlookers. In court, Georgie claimed he loved his daughters but panicked after Tamara witnessed the crime. He admitted to feeling unfulfilled in his marriage to Eileen, stating that their relationship had grown cold after she left her job as a medical worker to become a housewife. He described his cousin's arrival as a breath of fresh air, and revealed that the plan to kill Eileen was meticulously thought out. Georgie had given Miriam the apartment key, Eileen's phone passcode, and even told her where to find the oil they used to stage the scene. In February 2018, the Kashuri High Court found both Georgie and Miriam guilty of the premeditated murder of Eileen and Tamara. They were also convicted of conspiracy and attempting to destroy evidence. Georgie received a life sentence without the possibility of parole, while Miriam was sentenced to 25 years in prison. Though Georgie expressed regret for his actions, he made headlines again in 2019 when he petitioned the court to allow him to marry Miriam in prison. His family vehemently opposed the request, and it was denied. In June 2020, Georgie tried again, but this time Miriam refused, revealing she had fallen in love with another inmate. What lessons can we learn from this story?